Hi there and welcome back. Well, we got some news about BAND-MAID because we're not actually reviewing a song here, but we will be reviewing an announcement in that they have announced the release of a EP so long that it's nearly an album coming out on September the 21st, just after my birthday, and called Unleash. Interesting things here. We've got a track list, which I'm going to be talking a little bit about, and also we've got some interesting cover art, which goes also hand in hand with the fact that this apparently will be based around them having an opening closing theme tune on anime. I'm not going to talk too much about that because I don't know much about the anime. I don't know much about anime at all, if I'm totally honest with you. And the fact that, hey, I'm here to talk about the music side of the announcement. So first of all, I'm just very excited to see this come out. Yes, I believe it comes to 8 original tracks total, just looking at the list. They have got a couple of extra tracks on there as well. Let me just count. Oh, actually, no, it is 8, including the 2 tracks that we've already heard before, which is Sense and Corallium, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Now, I talked a bit about this on the live stream recently, and a few things really hit me about this that I wanted to go over for you. Now, first of all, I wanted to really talk about that cover artwork, because the cover artwork, I really liked it. Now, although I'm not particularly au fait with anime as a general, I know enough from being around friends and being in Japan that I recognise, basically the anime art can go incredibly good, incredibly detailed these days. What I liked, though, is that the anime artwork that they used here seemed to be fairly simple, not overly complicated, which makes me think that rather than trying to make the most awesome images, they're really concentrating on doing an art style that they can animate to hopefully do an animated music video, which I would really love to see. I think this is one of those bands that it could really work for, partly because a good music video knows how to project the attitude, the character of a band, and what band has more character than BAND-MAID. So I think this would be really interesting. And the other thing that plays into that a lot as well is the fact that looking at this art style, it really looked to me like the artist knew to get the most out of the characters. So just looking at them here, you can really kind of see you've got that whole energy. I mean, the whole pose, even in that still image that we're getting from Akane, really high energy. You've got obviously the very chilled out poses that are being taken by Misa and very much by Saiki. But, again, there's a personality on their faces. You can really feel it's them. But I must give extra points for Konami, who for me, Konami comes across as she's very modest, quiet, but they've given her this almost princess-like pose and the hair fluttering and the hands together. I think that's a nice way of hyping her personality into a slightly more sweet way, really being hyperbolic about the sweetness of her personality. It feels to me like the whole art style seems to be leaning towards an animated music video, and the artist seems to have really done a good job of interpreting what the whole band's character is. And I've always said that one thing I really like about BAND-MAID is they're one of those bands who, yes, they do have a sort of a character. They wear a bit of a character. I mean, down to the fact that they are band-made. And what are maids? They are people who basically, for their job, put on a little bit of a character. But I've always felt one of the good things about this is it's not like some big act of fakery. They seem to just really be doing a hyperbolic version of what appears to be their real life personalities. The more we've got to see them, the more we've seen kind of the sign of who they really are and how their onstage personas, their media personas are just exaggerations of the true character within. And one of the reasons why that's such a pleasant thing is it means that you don't ever feel like they're forcing it. It's just them having fun and being a bigger, larger-than-life version of themselves. Again, I feel this art style really grabs that. I'm looking forward very much to see what comes out of it music video wise, and also I just think the artwork is going to be really fun on this, so that's something that I'm really looking forward to. Now we have to get on to a few things regarding track lists and naming. Now, quick point first of all on track list, as I mentioned, we have counting them again, so it says 8 tracks. 2 of those 8 tracks again are Sense and Corallium, which came out on, I am pronouncing that correct, aren't I? Corallium. I still haven't checked that. I need to find that in katakana so I know. That's the glory of katakana. However much we might hate it, it doesn't leave you ambiguous about the pronunciation of words. Now, both of those tracks were on the Sense single. Sense obviously being the single, Corallium being one of the B-sides. For me, Hibana, I believe I'm getting that name right, was, I think most people would agree Corallium was better than Sense. We did a poll on the channel community page where people voted, and Sense was the least popular of the 3 songs on that single, despite being popular. Not as popular as the 2 B-sides, but for me, Hibana was the best of the 3 songs. Maybe not quite as intricate as Corallium, but just had a huge impact. So for me, the fact that they've included both of the tracks on here, but left Hibana out, oh no, I don't like that. I really wish to see it on here. I mean, I understand leaving at least one of the tracks out of this release means that that EP itself still has some value that's still going to push people to go and buy that, because there's still going to be one track they can't get unless they buy it. It's a good business move. And it is going to come down to a point of opinion, because I know that people were, as much as people both agreed that Hibana and Corallium were great songs, people were slightly split on which one they preferred, as our poll kind of indicated. I would still say that if I wanted to hear one of them on the album, I would go for Hibana over Corallium. So that's just my personal opinion, but there you go. You might well and probably disagree. Now, however, talking about the next thing, I'm going to get on to something which seems really irrelevant, but I do want to talk about it, which is titling. Now, I never really talk about too much about titling. And it became more of an issue as we were reviewing Scandal, the band who've been around for ages. I really like them, but I noticed that their standards for naming songs had started to become really bland. And we're having songs with names like Eternal and One More Time. And it's like, are we just going down a list of like really stereotypical names? Now, when I'm looking at this list of song names, I got to admit, I'm not mad about them. I'll get on to why, but I need to put the caveat on this that I do actually think there is a logical reason for this, which is obviously when you are a Japanese band, it's a very popular thing to release songs with English names. BAND-MAID have been doing it for a while, and they're not the only band. I think one of the reasons of this is, especially if you're a band who has international crossover appeal, you want to have song names where your overseas listeners will be able to easily just say the name of the song. This is especially, and search it as well, I should point out, this is especially obviously true of the fact that most people from English native speaking countries usually only speak one language, whereas people from other countries at least have an understanding of the mechanics of English usually, and very often are bilingual in some sense, with English, I believe, still being the most popular second language anywhere in the world. So it makes sense to name your songs in English, and then also to give them very short names so that they are still easy to regurgitate for someone who doesn't speak English. It makes sense. It's a good balance. I understand the one-word English song title name is not a bad idea. However, a couple of things. The EP name, Unleash, tonally, I like it. Yeah, Unleash. But it is bland. It's, you know, they're getting the point. It's got a similar tone to when you're talking about things like world domination or just bring it. You know, it's that sort of fighting tone. The difference kind of here is that whereas world domination has a sort of cheeky sense to it, because you know world domination is what they're going for, but they're not literally suggesting they're going to enslave the world. It's kind of got hyperbole to makes it kind of fun, whereas Unleash is so generic that although it is on point tonally for what we'd expect from BAND-MAID, it does feel a little bit like, okay, that's a bit generic. It's not one that's going to be easy to remember. Even Unseen World has a sort of a mystery to it. It's not a name that I don't think you'd probably find any other EPs. Probably there's no other albums called Unseen World. It's interestingly different enough. However, if you said, how many EPs or albums are they called Unleash or Unleashed, I'm sure if you type that into Amazon, you're going to come up with hundreds. It just doesn't have enough identity, in my opinion. So I felt a little bit disappointed about that name, if I'm honest. Totally correct, but not very interesting. And then going through the list of song names themselves, okay, so the first track, well, actually, I think they've confirmed they're not sure of the actual track order yet. So just the first one on the list is Unleash, the title track. But they did at least include 5 exclamation marks according to their official website. No problem with that. Then the next one is Influencer, which kind of reminded me of when YOLO came out, which, great song, awful name. Using trendy buzzwords, I don't know. I mean, if your song is deliberately sort of taking a little bit of a jibe at that, or at least playing with that terminology, that's fine. However, I can't help but feel that's maybe not the case. I don't know, maybe the song is genuinely about social media influencers, in which case there will be a tad of a cringe to that. But, yeah, I'll let it go. It's just, yeah. The next one is Isle. I just think that's an awful title. I really do. Apart from the fact that's not particularly easy to say, which kind of negates the whole point of doing the English name song. Just Isle. It doesn't evoke any feeling. It just feels like not good. Then we got Balance. Good name. No, it's still fairly generic, but at least it conjures up some images in your head. Hate with a question mark. Well, again, hate is like the word unleash. Type that into Google and you'll probably find like a million songs by heavy metal bands called that. The addition of a question mark is, okay, fair enough. Then you got From Now On, bit generic, bit interesting. And then Sense, Corallium. The fact that I can't say Corallium properly, I think, is an indication that's a good title. So, you know, the titles are okay, but just nothing really evokes a huge amount of feeling, which is a little bit sad. And then my last point, though, because I'm sure that'll all be negated once we hear the music, is what do I think the music will be? I have a habit of predicting what these albums are going to be like before they come out, and I'm often quite right, it seems to be. I think often you can tell what direction a band is going to go in as a general. I was quite good at predicting what Conqueror was going to be like. I got a good prediction on that, talking about I expected to be higher production. And then when Unseen World came out, I was quite good at predicting that I think that Pony Canyon were going to take them back to more of their sort of roots of being popular for their heavy playing style and for being more that band, you know, sort of appealing more to their international audience. It seemed to work. I was even pretty good at predicting the last BAND-MAID album, which rather than just blowing my own trumpet, excuse that terrible English idiom, what do I think this is going to be like? Well, I must admit, I really want them to play around again a bit more with sound. I was a big fan of Conqueror, although there were some missteps on that with the whole studio side of things. I really like that as an album because of the fact there were so many different writing styles employed there. I do think that we're going to get another heavy album. I really do think that's going to be the case. I think that got the indication both from Unseen World and from them coming back with the Sense single, which again was pretty full-on heavy tracks. Although that did feel that it was a bit more of a balance between what we heard on Conqueror and what we heard on Unseen World. I think with this EP, especially considering it's got a tie-in to an anime theme, I think that we're going to get something which is going to be, again, I think they're very much on the route of they're going to be heavy, it's going to be majority heavy, majority fast. I think that we are going to get some interesting songs in here with a little bit of a change of tone. I really love the fact they did that acoustic set, which wasn't just, they didn't just phone an acoustic set when they did that. I think it was last Christmas. They didn't just sit there and play their song strumming away and go, there's our song but played acoustic. They really reworked them. There was a care into looking at what made their songs work and redoing them. Even the choice of songs, they didn't necessarily go for the most popular songs per se. I know people who say per se, it's like such a hipster thing to say now, but I've always said it. Sorry. They didn't go for such a just their most popular songs per se, but I do think that they picked songs that they really had something that they wanted to get out of through that change to doing an acoustic. And so I think that they have got a desire, as has always been clear through things like when we had when they've done those occasional side steps and even the side projects and the acoustic EPs and all of that, we've got a band who really do like to occasionally step out of what they're most popular for and do variation. And to me, that's one of the reasons I love them, is the fact they don't just do one thing. They are willing to do more poppy things. They are willing to do side projects and things that are out there. So maybe one or two tracks on here I would expect to be something a bit different, which has also got me quite excited. So this, I think, is going to be really interesting. I've got a lot of things I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to seeing the animated music video. I'm looking forward to hearing, probably now they've settled in with after Unseen World, I'm hoping to see maybe a little bit more variation on this album than we got in Unseen World. I think this is going to be an interesting one. I'm really looking forward to it. I also think the short list is going to make it a very punchy EP. So tell me what you guys think. These are all predictions anyway, and just some basic overviews of what I think of the initial release announcement. Looking forward to it coming out on September the 21st, and as always, get in the comments to tell me what you think. But until I hopefully see you very soon for another one of these, run out of breath, for another one of these videos, for now, ciao ciao.